So I feel like that's the beginning of letting shit go, is to really acknowledge what is. And that's what I learned in my family constellations trainings, is that's the very first step to healing, is just to acknowledge what is, without disassociation, without saying, oh, it's all good, it's all bright and sunny, but to really step into that emotion and then what's underneath the surface. Hi, I'm Alexis Gonzalez, and you're entering A World Gone Good.
Happy New Year and welcome to World Gone Good 2025, which is pretty much the same as World Gone Good 2024. This is the place where we shine the light into the darkness to prove there is good out there, and lots of it, as we feature everyday people just like you making good happen each and every day. Hey, did you hear our exciting news? We are having our first ever live podcast recording experience at Conscious Life Expo, and you can be there yourself Sunday, February 9th. Visit consciouslifeexpo.com for all the details on how you can get in on the good in-person podcast times. I'd love to see you there. Okay, so we're going live next month in almost 200 episodes. This is something I have never done. It's equal parts exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking because, there's that thrill of trying new things and putting yourselves out there, right? And myself out there, ourselves out there. And it's also a little scary. So in preparation for our in-person, in front of an audience record at the Conscious Life Expo, we thought it would be oh so good to meet some of the other folks who will be showcased at the event. And today's guest is one of those very good people. Alexis Gonzalez is an entrepreneur, speaker, author, and family constellations facilitator. She's been mixing spirituality with metaphysics for going on a decade now, and it's all about what her book is all about. The book's called A Journey into Truth, Unveiling Life's Secrets for Truth Seekers. Where are my truth seekers at? Let me hear you scream. Man, I would love it so much if you just screamed at the top of your lungs right now, wherever you are, the gym, the supermarket, or in your car with other people who just, scream themselves because you scared the shit out of them. Scream your truth, you truth seeker, you. Alexis lives by this motto: vibrate to create. So much so that she named her company that. All right, now, who's ready to feel the vibrations? Here comes Alexis Gonzalez from Vibrate to Create to share her good journey. Well, as we previously announced on our Holidays Gone Good episode with my new friend Christine Augustin, we will be at the Conscious Life Expo in February, and my guest today will be there as well. Hello, Alexis. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing so good today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Let's start with the most important place. It's a brand new year. Question number 1, resolutions, yay or nay?
Ooh, do I have resolutions? I feel like I have lifelong resolutions, so I don't have a specific day where it starts. It's like I have them throughout the year, so...
Do you stick to them?
Do I stick to them? I feel like when I'm ready spiritually, it just happens. Like recently I started doing Orange Theory Fitness, which it's like a workout program where you do group classes. And I feel like I had to be ready spiritually and like physically to fully commit to it. And that's kind of how I am. When I'm ready to do something, I can go all into it. And so, that's kind of something I've been working on for the last month, getting ready for the Conscious Life Expo so I can be running and jumping on stage like Tony Robbins, hopefully one day.
Limber up before you do that. Okay, let's go here to question number 2. Were you named after a specific Alexis, or were you named after anybody?
So my mom had me very young. I believe she was 17 years old. And It was actually a friend in high school that she had who was named Alexis. And so she decided she loved that name, and that's how I got my name.
Oh, that's cool. Have you ever met this friend?
No, 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 no. I don't even think they were super close. It was just kind of like a classmate that she had, and she knew that was what she wanted to name me. And I love my name, so maybe I chose it, and I told her.
Oh, no, I love that. I love that. I love that because I have a dog named Mason, and his name at the shelter 12 and a half years ago when he was a puppy, his name was Dandy. And I'm like, I'm not taking a dog named Dandy. And I took his little puppy head and I pressed my head against his head and I said, tell me your name. And the name Mason came into my head. And I said, your name is Mason.
No, I've had that experience actually, like knowing if I ever have a daughter, I know what her name is. And I feel like she's the one telling me what her name is. So it's Eden. So one day, if I have one, that's her name.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think this kind of really ties into the spiritual topics I'm so, you know, I love so much. Is I believe we start before we even get here physically. And so, like, meaning in a physical body. And so I definitely think that we can connect, like you said, with animals on an energetic level, but also our future children.
That's interesting. So your background is a combination and you're present of spirituality, philosophy, and can we say metaphysical?
Of
All
course.
move like a blend? Is that a blend for you?
Yeah, so I started when I was 19 years old. Currently, I'm 28. So my journey started from a lot of hardships and then wanting to seek spiritual truth. So I wanted to know if there was life after death. And so I went to many different places. I went to first to Buddhists and eventually ended up meeting someone who took me to the jungle. I've done ayahuasca in the jungle. I mean, it's been such a long journey, and I've met so many beautiful people along the way and learned many healing modalities. So that's how I got to what I do now.
Were you open to it more than you expected to be? And do you feel that you continue to open to it as you move through all this?
I feel like I have always been. I remember when I was very young, my mother had, I believe it was a miscarriage, and we were sitting in a theater, and she had not told anybody what happened. And I guess I looked up to her, and I was probably only like 4 years old. And I said, Mommy, where's my brother or sister or something like that? And she said that she just started crying because she had not told anybody. And I guess I just kind of knew. So just knowing things, but I kind of lost sight of that just because I was in normal human society and they don't teach that in kindergarten or.
Right.
It wasn't until I was 19, but I feel like a lot of things really had to happen and I had to meet the right people at the right times when I was seeking the most help. And so I feel like that has happened to me always. I meet the right teachers right when I need them to give me support along my journey or just to help me understand spiritual truths or how to move through hardships. So I'm so grateful for those people that I've met.
Yeah. Is there somebody who was the first person that sticks out to you?
So my book is A Journey into Truth, Unveiling Life's Secrets for Truth Seekers. And I share that when I was 19 years old, I met this guy in an English class in college. And I remember I would come in every single day and he sat at the front of the classroom and just something about him was, it drew me to him. And he was always so quiet and introverted, and I didn't know why I was so drawn to him until the last day of class when we had a presentation. And he talked about sound healing. And he played us a song on his guitar and talked about like Albert Einstein and energy and how it can help to heal the body. And I remember that was the first time in a very long time that I felt so calm. And it was like something opened up in me. And I just knew this is where my life was about to change. I mean, at that time, I had doctors prescribing me like various like sleeping pills. I feel like I had like a pill addiction at that age, like Xanax, Ambien, you name it. Like I don't even really remember my prom. And I had cancer as well when I was 17. So there was just so much going on in my life at the time. And having that moment of just pure silence in my spirit and like fully being in the present moment with him as he was singing, I remember just chills all through my body. And then I knew that was, where I had to start studying. And so that's kind of really what kicked it off for me. And I started searching energy healing, I came across the law of attraction. And then Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks was one of my first teachers who really I dove into like full force. Like I was a diehard Abraham Hicks fan. I've been on two of her cruises as well. So, and I met her. So that was really exciting. And yeah, so his name is Alec. And I still know him actually. We ran into each other at a spiritual festival. So it's kind of funny.
You said so many interesting things here, but I want to start first here. Energy. I mean, we're all matter, we're all energy. How do we focus in on that energy? How do we find those calm moments, especially when we're being so inundated by our freaking phones and our hands that are constantly saying, pay attention to me, I have bad news.
I feel like it doesn't even have to be a thing where you're sitting with an intention to meditate, although that can be extremely powerful. But I've found for myself, even just going outside, like I'm usually over by the beach. And even just looking out into the ocean, you can find those tiny little moments of stillness. It just takes, going out and being in those environments consciously. And when I first started at 19 years old, that was what I was doing too. So it wasn't just like spiritual seeking, but it was more internal seeking for that peace because I was so, I guess, distraught and just had a lot of stress at that age as well. And I would go to like free things around me, like a seal sanctuary I found, and arboretums, gardens, and just really connecting with nature. I think that was one of my favorite things to do and really brought a lot of stillness. So it's not just sitting with your eyes closed, but really it can be experiencing life and being in the present moment that way as well.
I love it because I think that is so, the nature part especially is a reconnection and a connection that so many of us, whether we've chosen to or not, maybe it's just life, aren't able to always connect to. Your company is called Vibrate to Create. Your company mission is to spread high quality material and events that educate people spiritually, philosophically, and metaphysically. I'm not going to lie here. You sound like a somewhat reserved, I don't want to say introverted person, but quieter person. This might be your persona, your podcast interview persona. How do you put yourself out there? What was it like putting yourself out there? Why did you choose to put yourself out there in this manner?
Yeah, so I am very introverted. I'm a very creative person and just kind of introspective. So even like when I'm in a party, you'll see me over in a corner just observing life kind of thing. And I guess that's just the way that I learn. And I really love to learn about people and why people do things or what's underneath the surface of what they're saying. Like even if they're saying, "Oh, I'm happy and I'm okay," internally, I'm knowing that there's something underneath what they're actually saying. And so, yeah, I have a very vibrant internal world. And yeah, it was really actually very scary for me to step out and show myself to the world and start speaking in front of people. And I really want to credit my teacher, Clinton Swain, who is my public speaking teacher and also my business teacher. And he has been a very powerful mentor for me to help me step into that power and not be afraid to be out in the world. And he brought to my attention that it's probably because of some things I experienced in childhood, like being around abuse. And he even shares, like, sometimes he comes across women who they learn to be more quiet and introverted because it's safer that way. And so I've had to work through a lot of healing for myself to not be afraid to step out and be seen and to be okay with being judged by other people, but to know that I'm living in my authentic truth and sharing what I would love to share with other people. Because really, what it is I want to give to other people what I needed when I found Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks. That moment, I feel really saved my life because I don't know if I would be here if I didn't come across these ideas. So that's really my passion, is to share with people who are seeking in the same ways that I was seeking when I was 19. And so that's kind of what's driving me forward, even if I'm scared. I do it scared anyways.
But you do a bunch of things with your company, and one of them is that you really do put yourself out there because you're making videos and putting yourself up on YouTube. and you're opening yourself to, as I do every week here, every Wednesday, to a world of people out there who are ready to accept it and want to hear from you. But then also there's some people out there who are ready to jump on you and say the world isn't that good, or that's what they say to me. How do you handle that balance? Is it something that you've grown to handle? Does it trigger you at all?
I've kind of learned to stay a little bit neutral, even if it's good or even if it's bad, or do my best to do that.
You're a better person than me. Keep going.
I'm doing my best, I should say. And it's not perfect. Of course, it gets to you when people say some mean things just to kind of, like one time someone said something about my weight, and that kind of really, it hurt. Yeah, I'm a human. We all have emotions and we feel things. And I think from the other side, people don't really think about how are they affecting you and how could that scar affect you for the rest of your life? So I do my best to stay conscious when I'm posting or commenting on other people's platforms, but you can't, control the world. And I think that's where the real power comes from, is not needing the world to change in order for you to feel good about yourself specifically. And so, yeah, that's kind of why I do my best to stay away from taking in even good comments or even bad comments, because it all comes from what you're going through in your life. And someone who feels good about themselves or loves their life wouldn't be saying mean things to you. So, yeah, it's not about me.
And so that leads me back to a question, which is I literally wrote down. Ready? How do we let shit go?
Well, good question. It's so easy to say, there's always one answer to everything. And I feel like it's very case by case basis. And there's something I still haven't let that shit go. So
Right.
and it's a process. Like, we're all human and always evolving. But I find for myself, yeah, diving into the primary emotion, what's underneath the surface, and feeling the emotion. So even if it's just tears come up, then I find it doesn't stick, doesn't stay anymore, because I've fully processed what was in my subconscious or whatever I was holding on to. So I feel like that's the beginning of letting shit go, is to really acknowledge what is. And that's what I learned in my family constellations trainings, is that's the very first step to healing, is just to acknowledge what is, without disassociation, without saying, oh, it's all good, it's all bright and sunny, but to really step into that emotion and then what's underneath the surface.
Can you tell us all, family constellation, what does that mean?
Yeah, so this is a modality that I came across around 7 years into my spiritual journey. And when I came across it, I knew that that was what I was going to do for other people, because I've come across so many other things like sound meditations, breath work. I mean, you name it, lucid dreaming. I've learned about everything. And family constellations for me was one of the most powerful modalities I had come across. And it was raw and vulnerable, and it opens up a space for people to connect on a very deep level, and also to do such deep healing. And so it was created by a German psychotherapist named Bert Hellinger. It's actually pretty new to the US. I want to say it's about 40, 50 years it's been in the US, but it began, like I said, in Germany. And he learned from the Zulu tribe in Africa, and it was just kind of a culmination of many things he had experienced and learned in his own spiritual journey, and that's how he created it. It can be done in one-on-one sessions, it can be done in group work, and it's hard to describe until you're actually in it. And if you're going to the Conscious Life Expo, you'll see a live demonstration where I'll bring someone from the audience up on stage. There's also a full demonstration on my YouTube channel if you want to see before you come actually in person. We dive into ancestral traumas and things that happened before we got here, even, and how it's affecting our current life. So we allow the emotion to move, or whatever wasn't processed. Maybe it was generations ago. And it helps to free people to make new choices in life, or to know why they're making the choices they're making and to become more conscious of why they're making those choices. So, yeah, do you have any questions specifically about it? Because it's such a wide topic.
What happens if there's a trauma or there's a belief that someone has that the rest of the family does not share, does not believe happened, does not support? How do you work with that person in navigating that water for themselves and for having relationships with those around them?
So it's such a broad question, and we call it a family system. So I have a family system, you have a family system, and it's not just blood related, it's also things like past lovers, it's like victim and perpetrator energies, it's, even groups. So, like military can be a family system. So, every family system is very different. So, it's hard to share in that's such a broad question. Like maybe if I give an example, it can kind of help to.
Sure.
Okay, let's go with money issues. So let's say there's been a lot of poverty in generations of our past. And so unconsciously, we're carrying still this energy of, I don't have enough, or, there's not enough, even if they are currently very successful in their life. I've actually had this before where someone said, I have made enough. I feel safe, but also I'm afraid that it's going to leave me, or I'm afraid that it's not enough. Like I have to keep bringing in more. And what that could be, like I said, every family system is very different. Is maybe there was an uncle or a grandfather who made a bunch and then lost it, you know, when he was 30 years old. And so this person is currently 30 years old and they don't know consciously that they're carrying this in their DNA. It's genetic, that it was never processed in the family, or the emotion was never processed. And so they're carrying this thing thinking, "Oh, it's me. I have this fear that I'm going to lose everything." But really what it is at a soul level, they're wanting to process this emotion that was never processed. And so what we would do is we would bring the uncle into, we call it the morphogenic field, and also the client into the field with representatives. So if it's one-on-one, we bring in anything. You could use even a fork, I've heard, for tabletop constellations to represent the uncle, and a spoon to represent the person. And then it would be like a full process where we're doing healing sentences, we're feeling into this emotion that they're carrying, and also helping them to associate that it's not theirs that they're carrying, it came before them. And so sometimes, to answer your question, we're not conscious of where it comes from, and it could be 3 generations back. So maybe this generation doesn't know that this thing happened, but then the field brings it up. We could even do like a blind constellation where I don't know where this thing is, what this thing is representing, and the field will tell you, oh, like I'm getting a memory of when this actually happened for me once. This woman had an illness, and I stepped in. I didn't know what I was going to be representing, and she was carrying an emotion of an ancestor she didn't know from generations back, who was on a ship and got very sick with, I believe it was polio. And I had these, I guess you would call them clairvoyant knowings, and just at a soul level knowing that this is where it's coming from. That it was someone who was on a ship that got very sick, and that emotion never got processed. So it came down through the generations, and she was still carrying this emotion. And so, it's not always that we're conscious, but we would have to see a constellation to know where it comes from, or what it is. Yeah.
Alexis said it has to be conscious if we're going to the Conscious Life Expo. No, I'm kidding. That's so interesting, though, because what you just hit is so interesting about it not realizing it's conscience in that part of the brain and that part of the memory system and the part of the DNA and what we feel, because there are things that perhaps we don't know about from the past that we then discover. But
Exactly.
there's also stories we tell ourselves that are our perspective, or the generational passed down version of the story that we then go and find out a different version of the story or a different way in or slant of a story, and we get a different perspective shift. So that's interesting to me because it's like, certain times people go, I know why I have this trauma. It's because I had this car accident. Or I have more than one friend, trust me on this, who have been, unfortunately, as children, were bitten by dogs and won't go near a dog. And I got 3 lugs of
Mm.
dogs or dolls, and they're terrified of dogs.
Mhm.
They narrow that down to the very specific because this happened when I was 8 years old. That is why.
So there's a really good book. It's by Mark Wolin called It Didn't Start With You, and he's actually my teacher's teacher. That's a really good book for anybody interested in family constellations who wants to kind of learn basics. But he's sharing how he shares a lot of clinical and scientific stuff in there as well. But he shares how whatever we're currently experiencing, it didn't start with us. So even that moment where there was an interaction with a dog, that started somewhere prior. So that's the one specific moment. They think it's this life, but this particular moment happened because of something that happened back in the generations. Does that make sense? So it's it's very complicated.
Well, that's life.
And it's not even just generations. It could even be past life stuff as well. There are some facilitators who work with past life stuff. Mm, yeah, but it could be familial as well. So it just depends on the specific person we're working with and the specific issue.
So the Conscious Life Expo, you're going to be on a stage with an audience, and you're going to choose one person. How are you going to choose that person?
Ooh, good question. So like I said on my YouTube channel, there is a full live demonstration that's like 50 minutes long where you can see. But for me, it is very, very intuitive. I kind of look over the audience and one person will kind of jump out at me or kind of light up, I guess. And then I just have a deep knowing that this is the person. And it requires so much trust because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to say they want to work on. I don't know how it's going to unfold. But I want to say every single time it is so beautiful and so deep. And that's why I love this work so much. But yeah, it requires on my part just a full surrender and let go and a trust that it's going to work.
That's what I do every Wednesday here on World Gone Good. Sometimes I
Yeah.
don't know. No, sometimes I don't know. I'm just like, okay, what is this person going to talk to me about? Like, wait, and I just trust. And I
Yeah.
go, we're going to find it because that is an amazing, that's trust, right?
Yeah.
That's belief in that we're on a journey.
I believe in spirit guides. And yeah, I've gotten so many messages from my guides over the years. And I feel like I have so much trust because I have trusted for years in these guides. And sometimes when I'm looking out at an audience, I'll hear choose this one or that's the person. And so I feel like I just trust my guides. I don't give them a name. I don't feel like it needs a name. I feel like it's multiple beings, but to me it's just I follow the guidance. And yeah, so that is partially what it is. It's not just me, but I'm listening to, you could even call them, I mean, they go by many names. You could call them angels, you could call them, like I said, spirit guides, whatever you want to call them. I don't give them specific labels, but that is a big part of how I choose people as well. So yeah, this last time I went, and it's not just one person that I'll choose, it depends on what they're working on, but I'll choose other people as representatives to come up on stage as well. And then that's how it'll unfold. And there'll be the healing sentences and the resolution of whatever the person wanted to work on. So it'll be more than one person.
How long of an experience is this at the expo?
I want to say we're doing for 90 minutes. So there's going to be a little bit of instruction at the beginning, very minimal, just for people who don't know what this is or what's about to happen. And that way it'll kind of help to prepare the person who's coming up if they've never encountered this work, but they feel ready to do work. And so there'll be instruction. I'll talk a little bit about myself, how I got to family constellations. And then a majority of it is, yes, the process. And I love to do it that way because me personally, I learned best by experience. And to me, that's the most powerful way to learn. If you watch the video on YouTube, the live demonstration, you'll see many people in the audience are crying as well because they're being moved by the energy that's being moved up on stage, because to them it's very personal to their own family system as well. And you can see that many times we see ourselves in somebody else, and that can be even more powerful because we're watching it and taking it in at a much deeper level than even the person who's doing the work. So I share with people, even if you're not chosen, you will still get something from this because you'll take it in as personal for your own family. Because sometimes it's very vague. Like last time, she just wanted to work on receiving love. And I remember at the end of it, looking out at the audience and just seeing like teary-eyed people, and it was just so beautiful because they were so different and so much softer energetically at the end. That's how they felt to me than they were at the beginning. It just felt like a whole sea of people who opened up, and I was like, how beautiful. So that's why I love doing demonstrations in front of a group of people, because you get to see such a big movement with many people, and who knows how that will ripple out to all of their lives. So I'm really excited for this one. I feel like it's going to be so beautiful.
We close these shows with 3 questions. Don't panic. You know the answers. Question number 1 is the easiest one. Where do people find you online, and how do they follow you on any social media you want to plug?
My company is Vibrate to Create, so you can find me at www.vibratecreate.com. And like I said, the YouTube channel is Vibrate to Create. Also, my Instagram at Vibrate to Create. Everything is Vibrate to Create. And even my email, Alexis at vibratecreate.com.
The final 2 questions can go back to anything we've already talked about or anything you want to say. Question number 1 is, well, question number 2, technically, because you already answered question number 1. Who inspires you?
Oh my goodness. I feel like all of my teachers have inspired me, especially my family constellations teacher, Sonia Arias, just because of how she has helped me walk through some hardships, and also how I have seen her walk many other people through their hardships. So she inspires me, I would say, the most to follow in her footsteps and to give to others what I've received from her. So Sonia Arias really inspires me.
The final question is not a question. It is a statement to finish. It can be about anything. It doesn't even have to be about anything we've spoken about, vibrating or not, or family constellations or whatever. That came out a little pornographic, but you get me.
That's so funny. Someone has asked me that question, like, what is that? I'm like, search.
Of course they are, because we're all 14. Here's the final statement to finish. Finish it any way you like. Tell me something good.
Tell you something good. So I want to say, through my hardships and some of my hardest times in life where I didn't see a way out or a light at the end of the tunnel, I have always kept the hope that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to say every single time there has always been a light at the end of the tunnel. And I've gained some really beautiful lessons from some of my darkest times as well. So I want to share that there is good even if you cannot see it. It will come. Yeah, you just got to keep moving towards the end of the tunnel, and then you'll find the light.
Thank you, Alexis, for sharing your good. Come meet Alexis and me in person the weekend of February 7th. Check out ConsciousLifeExpo.com for all the details. Next time on World Gone Good.
Learn how to meet each moment with this sense of ease, with this kind of softness, not trying to fight against everything that's happening, learning how to deal with your emotions without fighting your emotions, learning that you don't have to believe all your thoughts. You can just notice your thoughts and then choose which ones to believe or not.
Dr. Jay Winter wants us to de-stress ourselves, focus on the moment we are in, and live a mindful existence. He joined me in person at the coffee shop to have a good long talk about our health, our mental state, how a pill may or may not be the answer to our problems, and what it's like to grow up with the pressure of living a life with a last name of Winter. Talk about expectations. Expect a good conversation on our next all-new episode. Until then, be good.